2018. And your radio hosts are Donovan
and Val temporarily for Robert.
We will be reading the news for today's edition of the Fayetteville Observer.
All right. We have the weather, and the weather today is the high will be 81 degrees, and the low will be they don't have a low. Oh, well, yes, they do. I'm sorry. Tonight, the low will be 58 degrees. Today, it's going to be sunny to partly cloudy and mostly clear tonight. On Saturday, you have the high will be 83 degrees, and the low will be 64 degrees, partly sunny. On Sunday, the high will be 82 degrees, but you're going to have your umbrellas because it's going to be mostly cloudy with a strong thunderstorm. The low will be on Sunday be 53 degrees. On Monday, the high will be 65 degrees and the low will be 41 degrees. Sunny, intervals breezy and cooler. On Tuesday, the high will be 67 degrees and the low will be 48 degrees. Plenty of sunshine, but cool. On Wednesday, the high will be 79 degrees and the low will be 57 degrees. Partly sunny, pleasant, and warm. And on Thursday, the high will be 80 degrees and the low will be 47 degrees. And it's going to be mostly sunny. And they have the sun and the moon schedule. Sunrise today was at 6:46 a.m. Sunset tonight will be at 7:46 p.m. Moonrise today is at 6:12 a.m. and moonset today will be at 6:30 p.m. Sunset on Saturday is going to be 6:45 a.m. and sunset on sunrise and sunset on Saturday is going to be at 7:47. 7:47.
Today in history. Today is Friday, April 13th, the 103rd day of 2018. There are 262 days left in the year. Today's highlights. On April 13th, 1943, President Franklin D. Roosevelt dedicated the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C. on the 200th anniversary of the third American president's birth. In 1598, King Henry IV of France endorsed the Edict of Natives, which granted rights to the Protestant Huguenots. The edict was abrogated in 1685 by King Louis XIV, who declared France entirely Catholic again. In 1613, Pocahontas, daughter of Chief Powhatan, was captured by English Captain Samuel Argall in the Virginia colony. During a year-long captivity, Pocahontas served to Christianity and ultimately opted to stay with the English. In 1953, Casino Royale, Ian Fleming's first book, as well as the first James Bond novel, was published in London by Jonathan Cape Lieutenant. In 1964, Sidney Porter became the first black performer in a leading role to win an Academy Award for his performance in Lilies of the Field. In 1970, Apollo 13, 4/5 of the way to the moon, was crippled when a tank containing liquid oxygen burst. The astronauts managed to return safely. In 1986, Pope John Paul II visited the Great Synagogue of Rome in the first record papal visit of its kind to a Jewish house of worship. In 1992, The Great Chicago Flood took place as the city's century-old tunnel system and an adjacent basement filled with water from the Chicago River. The Bridges of Madison County, a romance novel by Robert James Waller, was published by Warner Bros. Birthdays. Movie director Stanley Donen is 94. Actor Lily Wagner is 83. Actor Edward Fox is 81. Actor Paul Serrano is 79. Rhythm and blues singer Lester Chambers is 78. Movie TV composer Bill Courtney is 76. Rock musician Mark Ford is 52. Reggae singer Capleton is 51. Actor Ricky Schroeder is 48. Rock singer Aaron Lewis Stained is 46. Actor Broken Woodbine is 45. Singer Lou Bega is 43. Actor-producer Glenn Horton is 42. Actor Kyle Howard is 40. Actress Kelly Giddish is 38. Actress Courtney Peldon is 37. Pop singer Nellie Mika is 36. Rapper singer Ty Dolla $ign is 36. Actress Allison Williams is 30. Actress Hannah Marks is 25.
Any birthdays on the...
And today's birthdays are Vernon Smith, April 1st.
For today, the 13th.
Oh. Yes.
Okay. And Daybreak, Need to Know. Prayer Walk. The 5th annual As One Prayer Walk is Saturday in downtown Fayetteville. The walk starts at 10 a.m. in Festival Park and will include stops for prayer at the NC Veterans Park and the Airborne and Special Operations Museum for military troops, veterans, and their families. City Hall for leaders and law enforcement. Cumberland County Detention Center for those who are incarcerated. The Market House for racial diversity. And the Headquarters Library for educators, children, and their families. The walk ends at Festival Park with music, food, and fellowship. For more information, go to asoneprayerwalk.org. Motorists in the downtown area should be aware that several streets will be impacted by the walk, including Ray Avenue, Hay Street, Hillsborough Street, Donaldson Street, Franklin Street, Green Street, and Maiden Lane. Ribbon cuttings. The ribbon cutting for the splash pad and inclusive playing field at Massey Hill Recreation Center on 1612 Camden Road is scheduled for Saturday at 9 a.m. The ribbon cutting ceremonies are free and open to the public. Walk MS. Those Walk to End Multiple Sclerosis is Sunday at Festival Park on 335 Ray Avenue. Check-in is 1 p.m. The walk starts at 2. The walk begins and ends at Festival Park. Plant sale. The Cumberland County Cooperative Extension Master Gardener Spring Plant Sale is Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Cumberland County Agriculture Center on 301 East Mountain Drive. Payment by cash, checks, and major credit cards is accepted. There will be plants to attract birds, bees, and butterflies, and drought-tolerant plants. Proceeds support horticulture scholarships and area gardens. For more information, call 321-6882. We want to hear from you. Please submit your events in writing at least 10 days in advance. Email calendar at fayobserver.com or fax complete details to 486-3545. And for questions, call 486-3500.
Livewire Observer staff. Falcon Village demolition work has stopped. Question: can you find out what is going on at the old Falcon Village shopping center? They started tearing down buildings, then stopped. It looks bad, and it looks dangerous. What happened? L.W. Fayetteville. Answer: 5 years ago, shopping center owner Bill Agapone agreed in court to have the property off Rayford Road demolished. At the time, the city was pursuing the demolition of Falcon Village, former home to Club Creoc. That club was forced to close in 2012 after the city alleged in court that the establishment attracted violence. Agapone, a Greensboro lawyer, as late as 2013 cannot be reached for comment. His Elm Street law office is listed online on the All Attorneys, Lawyers, Attorneys, and Law Firm in North Carolina website. Calls placed on his Greensboro law office were not answered. Mental Fush. Question. What is the phone number for J.O. Morris Accounting located at 1513 Hope Mills Road? I cannot find the number. Can you get it for me? J.P. Maryland. Answer. The accounting office, which used to be on Gillespie Street, relocated to Hope Mills Road. As of early March, the office number was 910-705-7369. Mitchell Futch. Livewire seeks to answer questions of general interests and consumers' topics. Initials are used to identify questionnaires when names are given. Contact Livewire at livewire@fayobserver.com or at 486-3516.
Public Safety, Cumberland County, arrest Anthony Jerome Breeden, 20, at the 100 block of Phillips Drive in Lumberton, was charged Thursday with 2 counts each of breaking and entering, larceny, possessing stolen property, and 1 count of conspiracy. Bail was set at $70,000. Antonio Moses Jones, 35, of the 4700 block of Dominion Road, was charged Thursday with 2 counts each of trafficking cocaine and trafficking MDMA, also known as ecstasy or Molly, and 1 count of maintaining a drug vehicle or dwelling. Bail was set at $50,000. Brad Edward Smith, 34, of Fort Bragg, was charged Thursday with 2 counts each of larceny by removing an anti-theft device and misdemeanor larceny. Bail was set at $5,000. William Brian Bates, 27, of the 300 block of Oak Road Road in Bass, was charged Thursday with 2 counts of embezzlement. Bail was set at $5,000. David Odin Cameron, 31, whose address is given as Easley, South Carolina, is charged with violating the sex offender registry by moving to Cumberland County and failing to register his new address with the sheriff's office. Bail was set at $25,000. Stephen Mark Franklin, 44, of the 1600 block of Inverness Drive, was charged Thursday with 2 counts of trafficking heroin and 1 count of attempting to obtain a controlled substance by forgery or fraud. Bail was set at $50,000. And Dominique Emmanuel Wright, 25, of the 300 block of Oakland Drive, was charged Thursday with assault by strangulation and misdemeanor injury to property. Because they are domestic violence-related charges, bail will be set this morning in district court.
Officials. No threat after evacuating Bragg building by Drew Brooks, military editor. Soldiers and civilians at Fort Bragg's Marshall Hall returned to work just after 3:30 p.m. on Thursday, a little more than 2 hours after the building was evacuated as officials investigated an unexpected threat. Paul Boyce, a spokesman for U.S. Army Forces Command, said police and fire officials swept each floor of the building in search of anything out of the ordinary. They found no indication that soldiers and civilians were at risk by returning to work. Marshall Hall is one of the largest buildings on Fort Bragg, the nation's largest military installation. It is home to U.S. Army Force Command and U.S. Army Reserve Command. The building houses approximately 900 employees between the 2 commands, including uniformed and civilian personnel. Officials evacuated the building shortly after 1 p.m. as a precaution to ensure the safety of those who work there. Boyce said the building later resumed normal operations. Boyce was not able to provide additional details about the type of threat that was investigated. Military editor Drew Brooks can be reached at dbrooks@fayobserver.com or 486-3567.
Community will be new school superintendent's report card by Bill Kirby Jr. Rudy Tatum would say it well after the Cumberland County Board of Education voted 7-2 Wednesday to hire Marvin Connolly Jr. as the new superintendent to preside over this county's 87 public schools and 50,558 students. and he could not have said it better. Help keep our schools safe. Tatum would look directly toward Connolly, 55, after the board approved the Wake County Public School System's deputy superintendent after a year-long search to replace Frank Till Jr. Challenge our students and let our teachers teach. Those are the only three things I ask of you. No need for Tatum to ask twice. We have high expectations for them and high expectations for us, Connolly later would say about students who come from all demographics of this community. We want our teachers to give our students their best, be collaborative, critical thinkers, and creative with sound communication techniques. And about safety in our public schools, Connolly says he will be working with Tim Kinlaw, who has served as the interim superintendent and who in early March initiated a school watch program that will allow volunteers from parents to grandparents and others to serve as school angels to keep watch over students and report suspicious activities. It's novel, Connolly says about the initiative that Kinlaw pitched to the school board, and board members Carrie Sutton, the chairwoman, Greg West, Susan Williams, Peggy Hall, Portia McMillan, Judy Musgrave, Donna Van, and Tatum threw their support in response to growing school violence. We want the community to embrace the school system. We want the community to be involved. Connolly was the board's choice out of 31 applicants, according to Sutton. Well, the choice of the board, with the exception of McMillan and Musgrave. Dr. Connolly brings a strong academic background, Musgrave would say. Even if you are not my first choice, I stand with you. McMillan reiterated Musgrave's words. I was another board member who did not have you as my first choice, she would confess to Connolly, but it does not mean I will not be able to support you. Still, Connolly was a strong enough candidate for the majority of the board as the retired 82nd Airborne paratrooper becomes the 6th school's chief after Till, Bill Harrison, the late John Griffin, Larry Rowader, and the late Jack Brett since the city and county school systems consolidated in 1985. I was 25 years of age when I met John Griffin, and no one was ever respected more by me. Kinlaw, 65, would tell Connolly, you remind me of him. Hall would say of the new superintendent, who begins July 1st at an annual salary of $220,000, that she welcomes him as a 10th member of the school board team, and in his words, to move from a good school system to a great school system. And West, a board member for 16 years, would say he has never been more excited about the future for the county schools. When you walked in the door, I knew you would be capable and do us honor. Van, a former principal and teacher in the school system, would tell Connolly, you are exactly what we need. Marvin Connolly's credentials are impressive, from a teacher assistant in 1992 to a special education teacher and coordinator to assistant principal and principal in the Wake County Public School System for 26 years, a Desert Storm soldier, and a Baptist minister, too. And then for sure you are honest and full of integrity. Williams, a retired school teacher, would tell Connolly, I believe you are what you say you are. I believe you expect a lot, and I believe we will get a lot. A community will be watching, and his report card over time is in its hands. Columnist Bill Kirby Jr. can be reached by emailing bkirby@fayobserver.com or by calling 486-3571.
Fort Bragg leaders provide update at Chamber Breakfast by Drew Brooks, military editor, Spring Lake. It was a meeting of neighbors. It just so happens that one of those neighbors is the largest military installation in the nation. Fort Bragg officials broke bread with civilian leaders as part of the annual Command Performance Breakfast, which provides an opportunity for those leaders to update the surrounding community on the goings-on of the sprawling post. The Greater Fayetteville Chamber's Military Affairs Council hosted the event at McCormick Farms on McCormick Bridge Road in northern Cumberland County. The MAC also honored one, awarding George Brace a Lifetime Achievement Award for his efforts in service of the Chamber, Fort Bragg, and local troops. Leaders from the Fort Bragg Garrison U.S. Army Forces Command and U.S. Army Special Operations Command provided updates and took questions from the audience. The senior officers said Fort Bragg's relationship with the surrounding community is a mutually beneficial one, and a relationship that has few, if any, peers across the larger military community. I've been stationed at many other posts, and it is probable that the difference between the relationship of the city and your chamber and this installation compared to anywhere else, said Bridge General David T. Isaacson, Deputy Chief of Staff, G6, and Chief Information Officer for Forces Command, Colonel Kyle Reed. The garrison commander said the installation strives to be part of its surroundings. It's not just an island that's 40 miles wide and 50 miles deep, he said. Reed said the majority of Fort Bragg's approximately 54,000 troops said it's nearly 20,000 civilian and contract employees live outside the post gates. In all, Fort Bragg's total economic impact is estimated at $11.3 billion a year, or about $30.9 million a day, he said. But the partnership isn't always smooth sailing. Reed acknowledged that training can sometimes cause headaches from those who live and work around Fort Bragg. Large training exercises sometimes cause gates to close, stalling traffic, and the sounds of artillery are relatively common. No matter the time of day or night in the military, we like to call that the sound of freedom, like when jets are flying over or helicopters are flying over, Reed said. He said the traffic and sounds are the result of Fort Bragg training to meet the readiness requirements the nation has imposed on its soldiers. Those same requirements are why approximately 13,000 local troops are currently deployed around the world. Fort Bragg troops, which include the 18th Airborne Corps and 82nd Airborne Division, train so that they are prepared to deploy to anywhere in the world on short notice, Reed said. We're trying to set them up for success. He said we don't want them to experience that for the first time when they are downrange and are put in a situation where lives are at stake. Bridge General William B. Mason, Deputy Commanding General of the U.S. Army, John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center and School, said Army Special Operations training covers a sprawling territory that includes 20 counties and stretches from Cumberland County to Union, Guilford, and Davie counties. The unique training exercises are needed to train soldiers for unique situations around the world. The soldiers deploy more often, but for shorter durations than their conventional counterparts, and typically specialize on a particular region of the world. The sun never sets on USASOC, Mason said. We're in about 70 countries every day for the week, and several thousand soldiers are deployed year-round across the globe. Isaacson said Fort Bragg is also a key installation in supporting Forces Command's mission to provide ready forces for combat. The command is the largest in the Army, overseeing a full 80% of the total force. Forces Command is the readiness factor for the Army. Isaacson said the command is focused on fit and educated soldiers, modern and capable equipment, and tough and realistic training, he said, and Fort Bragg provides all three. You can hear readiness with every aircraft that flies overhead, every missile that impacts the training areas, and every time gunfire rings in the distance. Isaacson said, it is those things that produce readiness, he said. Military editor Drew Brooks can be reached at dbrooks@fayettevilleobserver.com or 486-3567.
In brief, Wellington, teen accused of sexual activities with 4-year-old. Lurin man is accused of engaging in sexual activities with a 4-year-old child, according to an arrest report from the Harnett County Sheriff's Office. Gavin William Loftus, 19, of Waterfall Court in Irwin, was arrested Wednesday morning at his home and charged with first-degree forced sex offense and taking indecent liberties with a child. The date of the alleged offenses was not given, but the warrants were taken out March 29th. Bail was set at $60,000. Suspect's bail increased to $250,000. Bail for a man accused of robbing a woman of her car in the parking lot of Cape Fear Valley Medical Center earlier this week was increased Thursday in district court at the request of prosecutors. Judge Sherry Seiler Mack raised Edward Eugene Elliott's bail from $50,000 to $250,000 at his first appearance hearing. The 58-year-old is charged with common law robbery, attempted abduction of a child, possessing a stolen motor vehicle, and possession of stolen property. We asked for it to be increased to $250,000, District Attorney Billy West said, adding that Elliott was out on bail on a pending charge of habitual larceny when the incident happened Monday. Cabana T. Patrick, 22, told Fayetteville police that shortly after 11 p.m., she was getting into her dark blue 2003 Volkswagen Passat, which was parked in the hospital lot at 1638 Owen Drive, when Elliott approached the driver's side door and told her to get out. Patrick resisted, but Elliott pulled her out of the car. Patrick ran to the passenger side door and grabbed her 10-month-old child from the child safety seat in the back seat of the Passat before Elliott drove away, police said. No injuries were reported. Elliott turned himself in to authorities Wednesday night.
Final countdown. Fayetteville's baseball stadium is 1 year away from opening night by Sammy Batten, staff writer, while the Boys Creek Astros were making their 2018 home debut Thursday evening at Campbell University's Jimmy Perry Stadium, 36 miles away in Fayetteville. Preparations to move the minor league baseball franchise to its permanent residence have hit the 1 year mark. The advanced Class A Carolina League affiliate of the Major League Houston Astros is scheduled to debut in April 2019 under a new name in a state-of-the-art $37.8 million stadium in the heart of downtown Fayetteville. Team President Mark Zarther said Thursday the next 12 months will be filled with red-letter dates for the franchise leading up to the 2019 opener, which will mark minor league baseball's return to Fayetteville after a 19-year absence. Garther and team general manager David Lane were in Houston on Wednesday meeting with the Astros marketing personnel about the next major objective, choosing a team name. That is our next peak moment in engaging with the city of Fayetteville, Zarther said about naming process. We're looking forward to a branch launch event sometime this summer. Right now, we're still evaluating options to make sure we make the right decision. This is a long-term decision, so we want to make sure we make the right one for the team and for the city. 5 potential team nicknames were suggested in the contest conduction among fans and revealed last June. More than 1,400 entries were submitted, with the 5 finalists being the Fatbacks, the Flytraps, the Jumpers, Wood Dogs, and Woodpeckers. Zarther said the decision on the name is still in flux, as the organization evaluates how each possibility might work with the team branding. There are a lot of moving parts in finalizing a team brand. Zarther said, "It's more than a team name. It's about uniform design, what the team stands for, logos, merchandising. We're just trying to get every detail right." Season ticket sales will kick off with the announcement of the team name, which Zarther hopes will coincide with a special exhibit. The team is hoping to have the World Series trophy won by Houston last season to display at the brand launch party. Although season tickets aren't on sale yet, the team has received an impressive response to its Founders Club. For $250, members receive a variety of benefits, including priority seat reservation and their name on a brick paver that will be at the front gate of the stadium. So far, we have 300 people signed up for the Founders Club. Zalter said that it exceeds our expectations and is a sign that the city is excited about bringing a baseball team to Fayetteville. Fayetteville's long history with minor league baseball dates back to 1928 when the Highlanders competed in the Class D Eastern Carolina League. The city continued to have various incarnations of minor league teams through the 1940s and 1950s. After a 31-year gap without minor league baseball, the Fayetteville Generals were formed in 1987 as a Class A South Atlantic League affiliate of the Detroit Tigers. The Generals' rosters included future major leaguers such as Travis Fryman, Gabe Kapler, and Frank Catalonto, and the team was featured in the movie classic Bull Durham before becoming a Maternal Expo affiliate in 1997. Renamed the Cape Fear Cross, the franchise eventually left Fayetteville for Lakeland, New Jersey after the 2000 season due a sagging attendance and several failed attempts to get a new stadium built. Despite recent issues regarding this new stadium's franchising, Deputy City Manager Christoph Buer said the construction is on schedule. We're doing great, Buer said. Thursday, we're moving along well and are on schedule. We're doing a lot of concrete work now and will be for the next couple of months. We have a big pour scheduled for tomorrow. 8% of the concrete work for the clubhouse is complete. In June, the steel will start going up. You can really see how the site lays out now and where the ball field will be. The cost of the stadium has risen from $33 million to more than $37 million due to market conditions and site constraints. Bureau said in March, the city is applying for limited obligation bonds with the North Carolina Local Government Commission to fund construction. The stadium is off Hay Street behind the old Prince Charles Hotel and the train station. The site is surrounded by fencing, so progress is hard to determine from the street. But Bureau said people will start to notice a change in the landscape when construction on an adjacent parking deck begins next month. About $65 million in private investment is planned around the stadium, including the renovation of the Prince Charles into apartments, the parking deck and hotel and commercial tower on top of the deck. It's nice to see a drawing, but when you stand there and see concrete and steel, that's a bit different, Bureau said. I think the biggest thing people will start to notice is when we break ground on the parking garage. That thing will get high very quick. Like the team, a name for the stadium is yet to be determined. Bureau said Houston has the first right in securing a sponsor for naming rights to the stadium, but the city will benefit from whatever financial agreement is reached. They haven't found one yet, Bureau said. They have some deep conversation and that didn't end up where we wanted to be, but we are both working to find a naming rights partner. Staff writer Sammy Baton can be reached at sbaton@fayobserver.com or 486-3534.
Announcement.
82nd unveils first Hall of Famers by Drew Brooks, military editor. The names are familiar echoes of not only 82nd Airborne Division history, but of Fort Bragg and the U.S. Army at large. Giants such as General Matthew Ridgway and Lieutenant General James Gavin, who helped create the nation's first paratrooper division and then led the unit into the crucible of combat in Europe during World War II. Sergeant Alvin C. York, one of the most decorated soldiers in American military history. And trailblazers, General Roscoe Robinson Jr. and General Ann Dunwoody, who served as the first African-American division commander and female battalion commander, respectively. They will all be among the inaugural class of the All-American Hall of Fame, which will be unveiled May 23rd during the 82nd Airborne Division's All-American Week. Officials announced the first class of 21 paratroopers on Thursday, selected from the division's 101-year history by a board of senior leaders. The list includes 12 officers, 9 of whom reached the rank of a general officer, and 9 enlisted soldiers, including 3 command sergeants major. The inaugural class also includes 7 recipients of the nation's highest award for valor in combat, the Medal of Honor, and veterans in nearly every major conflict since World War I. The All-American Hall of Fame is about preserving our legacy and paying homage to our All-American legends, said Major General Eric Correa, Commanding General of the 82nd Airborne Division. This is important to our culture and to who we are as an organization, so we knew we had to get these first selections right. The inaugural class will be General John F. Campbell, who served in a variety of assignments with the 82nd Airborne Division, including as commander of the 1st Brigade during a deployment to Afghanistan. He later served as Vice Chief of Staff of the Army and commanded all U.S. forces in Afghanistan before finishing his military career. Staff Sergeant Felix Modesto Conde Falcon, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions while leading his ambush platoon to destroy multiple enemy bunkers in Vietnam. Private First Class Charles N. de Galloper, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor after he sacrificed himself to allow his outmanned platoon to withdraw during the early stages of the Battle of Normandy in World War II. General Ann E. Dunwoody, the first female battalion commander within the 82nd Airborne Division, and the first female 4-star general in American military history. First Sergeant Leonard A. Funk, Jr., who received the Medal of Honor and Distinguished Service Cross during World War II for heroic actions in Normandy, France on D-Day during Operation Market Garden and amid the Battle of the Bulge. Command Sergeant Major William Joe Gainey, who served multiple tours in the division and later as the first senior enlisted advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Private Joe Gandara, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions while saving his detachment from enemy fire in Amfreville, France, after D-Day during World War II. Lieutenant General James Gavin, who made 4 combat jumps in World War II and commanded the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment to start the war before taking command of the division ahead of Operation Market Garden in the Battle of the Bulge. Command Sergeant Major Tadeusz Ted Gawida, a Polish-born immigrant who was liberated by American troops from a Nazi labor camp and later served 18 years with the 82nd Airborne Division, including tours to the Dominican Republic and Grenada. Captain Roy Hanna, one of the original World War II paratroopers and a company commander who earned the Distinguished Service Cross, Italian Service Cross, and Purple Heart for valorous combat action during the Battle of Anzio in Italy. General James J. Lindsay, who held 8 positions in the 82nd Airborne Division from platoon leader to division commander and later became the first commanding general of U.S. Special Operations Command. Since his retirement, Lindsay has helped to create the Airborne and Special Operations Museum in downtown Fayetteville and continues to serve as chairman of the board of the museum. General Daniel K. McNeil, who commanded the company, battalion, and division levels of the 82nd Airborne Division and jumped with the division into Panama during Operation Just Cause. He later commanded U.S. Army Forces Command and served as senior leader for all forces in Afghanistan. Lieutenant Colonel James Maggie Magalis, the most decorated officer in division history, having jumped into Operation Market Garden in World War II, is a recipient of the Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, and 2 Purple Hearts. Command Sergeant Major Kenneth Rock Merritt, who jumped into Normandy on D-Day and the Netherlands during Operation Market Garden, earning the Silver Star during World War II. He twice served as the senior enlisted leader of the 18th Airborne Corps. Lieutenant Colonel Emery Dennison Pike, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for heroism at Banderas, France during World War I, and was the first recipient of the nation's highest combat honor in the division's history. General Matthew Bunker Ridgway, who led the 82nd Airborne Division as it was reconfigured from leg infantry to the nation's 1st Airborne Division, and then entered World War II. Ridgway was later a critical figure in the nation's post-war military development. General Roscoe Robinson Jr., the first African-American commander of the 82nd Airborne Division, the first African-American 4-star general in U.S. Army history. General Maxwell D. Taylor, who served as the division chief of staff and artillery commander during World War II, and became chief of staff of the Army and chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. General James D. Thurman, who served in the 82nd Airborne Division as a lieutenant and junior captain before serving as a combatant commander in Korea. Private John R. Towle, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor after single-handedly damaging 2 enemy tanks and a half-track during Operation Market Garden in World War II. Sergeant Alvin C. York, one of the most decorated soldiers in World War I, and a recipient of the Medal of Honor for capturing more than 130 German soldiers. The first All-American Hall of Fame class was selected based on service within the division, lifelong commitment to the division's values, and either valorous combat action or contributions outside of the division, officials said. Nominees must have been either awarded the Medal of Honor or served at least 2 years within the 82nd Airborne Division. They must no longer be eligible for service within the division and must be 5 years removed from their last service with the division. Starting next year, the division will enshrine up to 5 new members during each All-American Week. The 82nd Airborne Division is an iconic institution, and when you're talking about 101 years, 17 campaign streamers, and valorous combat action from Mus Dargan to Mosul, you are talking about an awful lot of legendary figures, said Lieutenant Colonel Joe Bucino, division spokesman. This is immortalization within the 82nd Airborne Division, and we know that not everyone that is worthy is going to make it this year. The selection committee meets every year, however, so the Hall of Fame will expand. Military editor Drew Brooks can be reached by emailing dbrooks@fayobserver.com or by calling 486-3567.
Local and State Deputies, Files Should Be Secret by Jonathan Drew, The Associated Press, Raleigh. The Harnett County Sheriff's Office said its obligation by state law to keep investigative files secret as it fights a lawsuit alleging excessive force by deputies, including the fatal shooting of an unarmed man in 2015. Lawyers for the deputies were responding this week in court documents to news organizations that believe State Bureau of Investigation files related to the deputies' actions should be made public. The group includes Fayetteville Observer, the News and Observer, WRAL-TV, WTVD-TV, and the Associated Press. The deputy's lawyer said the state law compels efforts to maintain the confidentiality of certain documents such as personnel records and investigative files. The defendants said those efforts should be reviewed as somehow nefarious. The deputies were sued by plaintiffs, including the mother of John David Livingston, who was fatally shot in 2015 by a Harnett County deputy. She was joined by other plaintiffs who say they were the victims of unjustifiable harsh police tactics. A lawyer for the news outlets asked a federal judge last month to unseal evidence that also includes deposition transcripts and affidavits from investigators. The media outlets said they don't have a legal interest in the outcome of the case, but want to protect the public's right to transparency. The plaintiff said deputies were looking for another man in November 2015 when they arrived at Livingston's home without a warrant. The lawsuit contends one of the deputies provoked an altercation that ended with him shooting Livingston multiple times at close range. Lawyers for the sheriff's office argued in court documents that Livingston engaged in aggressive acts that caused the deputy's response. The deputy, Nicholas Kickerhans, resigned. A grand jury declined to indict him. Kingis has said Livingston reached for his stun gun and that the deputy feared for his life. The defendants argue other plaintiffs similarly provoked deputies on separate occasions and deny a pardon of excessive force.
Dems need more than an anti-Trump platform by Jonah Goldberg. One of the right's most common and best arguments for the Trump presidency is that it shattered the Republican Party's calcified agenda. Invested in a coalition of various interests and beholden to a pervasive and outdated Reagan nostalgia, the GOP desperately needed new rhetoric and a new approach. For good or ill, President Trump provided both. The Democrats' effort to come up with a program separate from anti-Trumpism suggests they're in desperate need of some disruption as well. Say what you will about Reagan nostalgia, it's at least fresher than FDR nostalgia, which has largely defined the Democratic Party for the better part of a century. When Democrats look for a policy vision, their framework is the New Deal. Harry Truman's Fair Deal and LBJ's Great Society were both continuations of the New Deal. After the 9/11 attacks, New York Senator Charles Schumer wrote in the Washington Post that the attacks proved the era of a shrinking federal government has come to a close. This new challenge proved we needed a New Deal. Even the New Deal's biggest competitor, John F. Kennedy nostalgia, has always been about aesthetics and atmospherics. Kennedy's own policy agenda never broke with the New Deal paradigm. Barack Obama, who had a Kennedy-esque cult of personality, was nonetheless expected by liberals to be a new FDR, which is why Time magazine ran a picture of a photoshopped Obama as Roosevelt on its cover after the 2008 election. When Obama rolled out his sweeping policy vision, a new foundation, it was a New Deal rehash. House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi, 78, is a child of the New Deal. Her father, Thomas D'Alessandro Jr., a passionate New Dealer in Congress, named one of his sons Franklin D. Roosevelt D'Alessandro. The New Deal remains Pelosi's North Star, which may be why she accidentally referred to their new program as the New Deal. Now, the Democrats have their Better Deal agenda, yet another New Deal retread. The Democrats even admitted Pelosi insisted that the Better Deal is not a course correction, it is a presentation correction. Schumer says it was chosen in part for its relation to both the New Deal and a better deal than Trump. It's remarkable how Democrats call GOP ideas tired and outdated, yet keep returning to a well that was dug 4 years after the invention of sliced bread. At the rollout of a better deal, Pelosi said it is founded on strong values that we share, strong values fueled by fresh ideas. On Fox News Sunday, anchor Chris Wallace asked House Democratic Caucus Chairman Joe Crowley to give me one fresh idea that Democrats are offering voters for November. Crowley's confident response, a new infrastructure plan, but one that, unlike Trump's plan, the feds would pick up more of the tab for it. Can't you smell the freshness? Ironically, the New Deal was never a coherent program. It was a mixed and entirely ad hoc, the richest response to an economic crisis. To look upon these programs as the result of a unified plan, wrote Raymond Miley, FDR's right-hand man during much of the New Deal, was to believe that the accumulation of stuffed snakes, baseball pitchers, school flags, old tennis shoes, carpenter's tools, geometry books, and chemistry sets in a boy's bedroom could have been put there by an interior decorator. There are many reasons the Democrats remain a cargo cult to the New Deal, but the most important one for this moment is that the approach unifies not Democratic voters, but Democratic politicians. The FDR coalition is a relic. The coalition of Democrats want is shot through with divisions. The Better Deal gives Democratic polls something to talk about that won't rile one faction or another. That may be good enough to win the 2018 midterm elections because all they really need is some boilerplate to rely on as they ride an anti-Trump wave. But a time will come when it won't be enough. The disruption is coming. They can help shape it, or they await a destroyer not of their own choosing. Jonah Goldberg is an editor-at-large of National Review Online and a visiting fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Email him at jonascolumn@aol.com.
More compounds discovered in wells near Chemers. The 25 potential harmful chemicals were found at elevated levels in wells near the plant that makes Gen X by Steve Devon, staff writer. State officials are trying to determine the sources of the 25 potentially harmful chemicals that have been discovered at elevated levels in wells near the plant that makes Gen X. The state has been investigating Gen X since July. The compound, which is made at the Chemers plant in Layton County, has been linked to several forms of cancer in animal studies, but it isn't known if the effects is the same in humans. The State Department of Environmental Quality filed an admin complaint against the company Monday. The agency filed its initial complaint against Chemers in September. Gen X has been discovered in 639 private wells near the plant, including 190 at levels above the state provisional health goal for the compound. Chemers official did not immediately respond to an email seeking a response to the amended complaint. The company submitted a report to the state in January that said Gen X was found in a well on the Chemers property at a level of 640,000 parts per trillion, according to the amended complaint. Tests on 3 other wells showed levels of the compound higher than 100,000 parts per trillion. The state's provisional health goal for the compound is 140 parts per trillion. The report also showed elevated concentrations of numerous per a polyfluoroalkyl substance known as PFAS were found in wells on the Chemers property. According to the amended complaint, the report lists tests done on Gen X and 25 other compounds. The Environmental Protection Agency says PFAS, which include Gen X, are man-made chemicals that have been manufactured and used since the 1940s. There is evidence that exposure to PFAS can lead to adverse human health effects. The EPA website says the amended complaint says one compound was found at a concentration of 8.17 million parts per trillion. The concentrations of 3 other PFAS compounds mentioned in the document range from more than 22,000 parts per trillion to 1.94 million parts per trillion. A statement released by a Department of Environmental Quality in response to questions about the compounds said state officials do not yet know how they are used or if they are produced at the Chemers plant. Some of the compounds are shown up in tests from other locations, it said. There are no standards or specific health goals for these additional compounds. The statement said state officials said they don't know if any of the additional compounds are the same as those found in Cape Fear River by researchers in 2013. The research discovered Gen X and 6 other compounds in the river, but scientists said the chemicals are so new that they cannot determine exactly how much is in the water or how harmful they might be. Tests on a private well about a mile from the plant found Gen X and about 15 other compounds, but it's not known if any of those compounds are the same as those mentioned in the admin complaint. Scientists have said they can't precisely measure some of the compounds because they don't have a pure sample of which the calibrate their instruments. Staff writer Steve Devon can be reached at sdevon@fayettevilleobserver.com or 486-3572.
Bragg hosts Holocaust Remembrance event. Zed the Hero was just 14 years old when his family was packed with other Jews onto cattle cars and shipped from their home in Hungary to the infamous Auschwitz concentration camp. At that same time, 25-year-old Sergeant Hubert Edwards was fighting his way to North Africa and to Europe with the 17th Field Artillery Battalion. As Hero fought to survive the horrific conditions of a prisoner camp that claimed the lives of more than 1 million people, mostly Jews, Edwards faced battle after battle during 37 months of fighting that included 660 days on the front lines as a howitzer gunner. Hero was liberated by U.S. soldiers in 1945. That same year, Edwards would be part of the liberation of a different camp in Germany. On Thursday, Liberated and Liberator crossed paths for the first time during a Day of Remembrance event at Fort Bragg, hosted by the 20th Engineer Brigade. The two survivors shared a message of peace and love while recalling evil acts perpetrated decades earlier. They warned soldiers of the dangers of complacency and the need to protect the weak from the cruel. The Fort Bragg event paid tribute to the millions of lives lost during the Holocaust as Adolf Hitler's Nazi Germany imprisoned, tortured, and killed Jews, political opponents, and other minority groups seen as undesirable. Nearly 73 years after the world discovered the atrocities committed during World War II, officials at Fort Bragg said they were committed to fighting the evil traits that fueled these crimes. The evils of prejudice and of discrimination have not ended, nor have the languages of racism, of hatred, or exclusion, said Colonel Mark Hoffmeister, the commander of the 20th Engineer Brigade. Today's event teaches us the perils of ignoring evil and challenges us to continue to defend those in need. Stories of the Holocaust are sad, Hoffmeister said, but they are also triumphant due to those who survived and those who fought to free them. Harrow, 88, said his family suffered for years before they were sent to Auschwitz. At first, he wasn't allowed to go to school. Then the family was restricted to their home for all but 2 hours a day. That had moved with other Jewish families to a ghetto of a nearby city before the German soldiers arrived and ushered most of the Jews onto the cattle cars. Those left behind included Harrow's grandfather and other elderly men and women. They were instead escorted to a wooden building. The last memory that I have of my grandfather is how that building went up in flames, he said. On the night he arrived at Auschwitz, Harrow recalled that the sky was full of stars. It was a beautiful night, he said, but the stench, you know what the stench was, burning bodies. As Harrow's family was being slaughtered and starved, Edwards was taking part in the long, hard slog of fighting in Tunisia, North Africa, Sicily, Naples, Rome, southern France, the Rhineland, and finally, Central Europe. His battery faced down 36 German tanks during one day of fighting. Eventually, they used their howitzers to fight back against German soldiers advancing on foot after the tanks were damaged. Edwards, now 99 and living in western Harnett County, described how their body parts flew across the battlefield and how, when the dust settled, his battery was down to a handful of shells. Near Munich, Edwards helped liberate a prisoner of war camp. Looking back, Edwards said the war and the atrocities committed by the Nazis should remind the world of what happens when evil men are allowed to lead and good men don't stop them. Chaplain Rudiger Schultz, a German army chaplain based in Washington, said that Germany was considered a leading nation at the turn of the century. It was home to acclaimed artists and leaders in science and theology, but good men stood aside as evil men committed horrific acts. Schultz said others would regret not doing more to save men and women who were once neighbors and friends. Schultz said recognition was the first step to redemption and noted that Germany and America are now close allies. Harrow said he wanted the young men and women in the audience to remember Germany's place in the world at the beginning of the 20th century and its slide toward Nazi rule. A former college professor who now lives in Greensboro, he urged soldiers to do good things and to respect and honor the diversity that is inherent within the country. Our country is a country of immigrants, a country of diversity that started from immigrants that arrived and keep arriving here, he said. Edwards agreed. We should have learned one thing from the war, he said. Love thy neighbor. Respect your neighbors. Make this world a better place to live.
This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the SENCRS in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600 or our toll-free number 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts are Donovan and Robert, and we are proud to serve you today. KW to introduce new concept restaurant. Opening at Bureau Center scheduled for Wednesday by Mitchell Foch, staff writer. The Winston-Salem-based KW Cafeteria will unveil its new concept restaurant to the public on Wednesday at new location in Bureau Center near Cape Fear Valley Medical Center. A ribbon cutting is scheduled by 10:30 a.m., followed by remarks from company president Dax Alford. The new restaurant will then open at 11 a.m. for lunch and dinner only. The iconic KW Cafeteria, in its 81 years of existence, has served customers in Fayetteville since 1973. It has operated from the current location of Village Drive since 1986. The existing restaurant is expected to close for the transition Sunday night. On Wednesdays, the business reopens with a dramatic reboot at 1758 Owen Drive, operating as two restaurant options in the K&W Carolina Kitchen. Will continue to serve the faithful in the familiar cafeteria setting, but with a modern spin. The new prototype K&W Carolina Caf is largely designed as a takeout side of the operation. We have the opportunity of taking tradition to the next level, said Bill Alford, the 35-year-old assistant director of purchasing and grandson of K&W founder Grady and Alder. We are not trying to annihilate the loyal customers we have now. We're trying to have a more enhanced dining experience for them. We're trying to get away from the traditional cafeteria look. We're looking at right off the bat, when you open the door, the lighting, the walls, the tiles that give it what were called a refined rustic look. Regulars will find their favorites on the serving line, such as the baked spaghetti, macaroni and cheese, chicken fingers, and 7-layer salad. At the same time, some different vegetarian dishes and additional stir fries will be incorporated into the menu. We're keeping our traditional Southern food, said Leslie Alfred Yates, the catering coordination for K&W. A big change for the cafeteria will be the self-serving beverage area for coffee, tea, water, and carbonated drinks. The adjoining caf, the first of its kind in the company's 30 restaurant chain in the Carolina and Virginias, will feature an express to-go salad bar for takeout by weight and self-service for beverage. A limited dining area seats more than 40 people. We're trying to add modern convenience with our takeout section, making it easy pickup. Alfred Yates said, "We want to get the hospital customers and the people that don't have the time to wait in line to get out the door quicker. The first 500 customers on Wednesday will receive a commemorative tea glass that allows for free tea refills the following 2 weeks, according to publicity materials to promote the grand opening. On Thursday, K&W resumes its regular hours, serving breakfast from 6:30 to 10:30 a.m. and lunch and dinner continuously from 11 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. 7 days a week. The new location next to Carly C's IGA gives the cafeteria an additional 3,200 square feet of space. It's a sizable difference, Allard said. Media members on Thursday were given a sneak preview of the new restaurant with only 6 days remaining before the planned grand opening. About 30 to 40 contractors and subcontractors were busy working inside, applying finishing touches and checking things out. Lots of work will still needs to get done, Allard said. Seating for the dine-in customers in the Carolina kitchen side of the business will be comparable to the existing location, with the addition of a 40-seat banquet room for meetings and reservations. We're excited to be getting out of this building, Allard said. Of the existing restaurant, we're ready to go. Staff writer Mitchell Futch can be reached at mfutch@fayetteobserver.com or 486-3529.
Okay, obituaries for today. Death notices. The following deaths have been reported. Coming editions of the Fayetteville Observer will contain complete obituary information. Cumberland County, Francis Oliver Racine Jr., 85 of Fayetteville, Affordable Cremations of North Carolina. Robert Edmond Sr., 70 of Fayetteville, Wiseman Mortuary. Thelma Collins, 75 of Fayetteville, Wiseman Mortuary. In the Cape Fear region, Eula May Fulmore, 88 of Maxton, SNL Funeral Home in Maxton. Dr. Earl P. Royal, 82 of Mission, Texas, formerly of Clinton, North Carolina, Worley Funeral Home, Clinton. Booker T. Williams, 101 of Lillington, Walker Memorial Funeral Home and Cremation of Lillington. In Cumberland County, Lonnie Raven Royal, 73 of 612 McKay Drive, passed away Wednesday, April 11, 2018 at Cape Fear Valley Medical Center. A funeral will be held at 3 p.m. Sunday, April 15, 2018 at Crumpler Honeycutt Funeral Home with Reverend Charles Barrick officiating. The family will receive friends from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the funeral home just prior to the service. Interment will follow in the Royal Family Cemetery on Holden Road in Salemburg, North Carolina. In lieu of flowers, the family requests you help someone in need. Online condolences may be sent to the family at www.crumpler-honeycutt.com. Arrangements are by Crumpler Honeycutt Funeral Home, 118 Fayetteville Street, Clinton, North Carolina, 28328. Jermaine Lamar Johnson, 30 of Parkton, died Saturday, April 7, 2018. Funeral will be held Saturday at 3 p.m. at Wiseman Mortuary Chapel, and the viewing will be at the funeral home Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Services entrusted to Wiseman Mortuary. Mr. Lawrence June Davis, age 79 of 1967 Memory Road, Fayetteville, North Carolina, departed this life on Tuesday, April 10, 2018. Funeral services will be held on Saturday, April 14th at 2 p.m. in Union Oaks AME Zion Church. Burial will be at Rockfish Memorial Park. There will be a viewing Friday, April 13th from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Wiseman Mortuary. Beeman Coolidge Patterson, 90 of Fayetteville, died Thursday, April 5th, 2018. The memorial will be held Saturday at 11 a.m. at Lewis Chapel Missionary Baptist Church. Services entrusted to Wiseman Mortuary. Viola Bell McCrae, 82 of Fayetteville, died Friday, April 6, 2018. Funeral will be held Saturday at 11 a.m. at Beauty Spot Missionary Baptist Church. The viewing will be at Wiseman Mortuary Friday from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. The burial will be at Cumberland Memorial Gardens. Services entrusted to Wiseman Mortuary. Dorothy Duncan Bryant, 85 of Fayetteville, died Wednesday, April 11, 2018. Funeral will be held Monday at 10 a.m. at Snyder Memorial Baptist Church. And the visitation will also be at the church. It's Monday from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The burial will be at Lafayette Memorial Park. Services entrusted to Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. Lawrence June Davis, 79, of Fayetteville, died Tuesday, April 10, 2018. Funeral will be held Saturday at 2 p.m. at Union Oak AME Zion Church. The viewing will be at Wiseman Mortuary Friday from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. and the burial will be at Rockfish Memorial Park. Services entrusted to Wiseman Mortuary. Huron Merritt Howard, 18, of Fayetteville, died Sunday, April 8, 2018. Graveside service will be held Saturday at 3 p.m. at Highland Biblical Gardens of Rayford. Services entrusted to Heron Funeral Care and Cremations. Claudia May Cotton, 69, of Linden, died Sunday, April 8, 2018. A memorial will be held this Saturday at noon at the chapel. Services entrusted to Heron Funeral Care and Cremations. Region and elsewhere. Retired Staff Sergeant Wayne Brooks Frederick, 65, passed away on Monday, April 2, 2018. There will be a memorial service on Saturday, April 14, 2018 at noon at the Main Post Chapel, Building 11510, Sedgwick Street, Fort Bragg. Frank Bryant, 75, of Wagram, died Tuesday, April 10, 2018. Funeral is this Saturday at 2 p.m. at Oak Hill Missionary Baptist Church in Wagram. The viewing will be at Purcell Funeral Home Chapel in Laurinburg Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and the burial will be at Oak Hill Church Cemetery in Wagram. Services entrusted to Purcell Funeral Home of Laurinburg. Edna Salazar of Whiteville died Tuesday, April 10, 2018. A memorial will be held Monday at 3 p.m. at Peacock's Chapel. Visitation is at Peacock Funeral Home Monday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And to visit the website of Peacock Funeral Home, go to www.peacockfuneralhome.net. Mrs. Janice LaRue Warren, 84, of Salemburg, passed away Thursday, April 12, 2018 at Sampson Regional Medical Center. The funeral will be held at 2 p.m. Sunday, April 15th at Salemburg Baptist Church on 300 North Main Street in Salemburg, the Reverend John Adams officiating. Burial will follow at Salemburg Cemetery. The family will receive friends from 6 to 8 p.m. Saturday, April 14th at Butler Funeral Home on 401 West Roseboro Street in Roseboro, and other times at the home of her son. Sarah Emily Myers Averett, 91, died Tuesday, April 10, 2018. A visitation will be held Friday, April 13th, 2018 from 6 to 8 p.m. at McNeil Mackey Funeral Home on 319 West Broad Street, St. Paul's, North Carolina. Funeral service will be held at Bethcar Presbyterian Church on NC 87 West in Tar Heel, North Carolina, Saturday, April 14th, 2018 at 2 p.m. with the Reverend David Holloway and the Reverend John Simpson officiating. Burial will follow in the church cemetery. In lieu of flowers, the family requests that memorials be made to Bethcar Presbyterian Church, P.O. Box 6, Tar Heel, North Carolina, 28392, or Wesley Pines Retirement Community, 1000 Wesley Pines Road, Lumberton, North Carolina, 28358. The family wishes to thank everyone at Wesley Pines for the loving care. Arrangements by McNeil Mackey Funeral Home of St. Paul's. Robert Elliott Rogers, 77, of Evergreen, died Wednesday, April 11, 2018. Graveside service will be held Sunday at 3 p.m. at Rogers Family Cemetery of Evergreen. Visitation will be at Worthington Funeral Home in Chadbourn Saturday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and the burial will be at Rogers Family Cemetery. Services entrusted to Worthington Funeral Home. Thelma Evelyn Benton, 80, of Roseboro, died Wednesday, April 11, 2018.